Alright, I'm finally getting around to reviewing the Razer Kishi, and to be honest, I kind of love it. Hello and welcome to Retro Breeze. Now there are only really three big players in the mobile controller space. GameSir with the X2 and upcoming X3, Backbone with the Backbone 1, which is bafflingly still not available for Android, seriously where is it, and the gaming giant Razer with this admittedly bizarre thing, the Razer Kishi. The Kishi is a USB-C based gamepad that has a pretty striking fold-out design that uses this weird, fold-out, tentacle-like, stretchy mechanism to grip onto your phone and provide it with an Xbox-style input. The Kishi comes in both a generic Android styling and an Xbox-branded one, which I have here. It's also available with a lightning connector for the iPhone, but all three of these are identical in terms of their input. Speaking of input, the Kishi has a familiar Xbox-style layout with two offset analog sticks, directional pad, 4 face buttons, 2 shoulder buttons, and even tensioned analog triggers. Fantastic! There's also 3 function buttons, home, an app switcher, and menu, as well as a USB port for pass-through charging, and a charging indicator LED. Your phone connects to the Kishi like this. I don't really know how to describe this or even explain the design. First you unlatch these 2 tabs on the back to release the lock, then the whole thing just kind of noodles apart. Your phone fits between and inside the 2 halves like this, with the USB connector on the right hand side. Now right off the bat, this thing is almost comically massive. With my Poco F1 it's a full 10.5 inches long, which is longer than the Nintendo Switch. However, I think it actually looks pretty cool. Whereas something like the X2 looks very much like a phone with a controller strapped to it, the Kishi's design with the phone added actually comes together to look something resembling a portable games console, with the edges of the phone shrouded by the controller and making it appear closer to a single games console unit. Despite its length, I think it looks really nice. Also, despite the weird noodly mechanism, it's very sturdy and I don't feel any flex or twist with the controller in my hands. The back of the setup is pretty bizarre looking, but it's sturdy enough. I like the innovation of the design, it's actually really impressive. Like, who the heck designed this and why does it work? Another really nice touch here is that there are speaker holes in the front which direct the phone's speakers toward the player. It really makes my Poco F1 sound much better. One note on the design. It's much less forgiving in terms of compatibility than other controllers on the market. Some phones just plain won't fit. Oh, and also there are these 2 rubber pieces in each side which I just pulled out. This way my Poco fits perfectly even with its case on. Something that really stands out for the Kishi versus the X2 is its perceived quality. This thing feels extremely high quality, on par with an Xbox controller in fact, with solid materials and build and not a single rough edge to be found anywhere. Razer uses its established brand and hardware manufacturing experience to make the Kishi a really top quality controller, and easily the best overall quality in this market right now. Anyway, the Kishi is certainly not a perfect controller. In fact, when I first held it in my hands, I was not a fan at all. The bottom corners here kind of flare outwards and into the hands, pushing them away from the buttons and preventing any kind of familiar grip. Actually, if you look at the edge here where it folds down the side, I think if they just sheared that off, I think the Kishi would be 100 times more comfortable. Thankfully though, I've already gotten used to the shape, and using a slightly grip has completely mitigated the weird design. Now let's talk about inputs. First up, this is a controller built for modern games that require mostly analog sticks and shoulders. For that reason, I actually want to talk about the D-pad and face buttons first. This D-pad is not a great D-pad. There's no two ways about it. Now, I actually like the flared shape and the bowl-like cutout, and it's made of a nice smooth material. Again, it's high quality. However, it's very, very mushy with no tactile response at all, and it almost feels like it completely lacks a center pivot point. It actually feels like you can push down on the center of it. There's no feedback if you need to rapidly press different directions, which means it can be hard to tell where you're actually pressing at any one time. Now, it's not unusable, but I don't think it will be ideal for tight inputs like Street Fighter, for example. Also, if for any reason you need to tap a direction repeatedly, it is basically impossible to do so because of the lack of feedback. It's really a shame. Now the face buttons, which are okay, but just okay. They're really mushy again and require just a bit too much force to push down on. They do have just a fraction of tactile response, but it could be a lot better. Unlike the D-pad though, they are a lot more usable than not, but they are perfectly fine in general. I wish they were a bit more clicky and a bit easier to press. Alright, with that out of the way, let's talk sticks and shoulders. And wow, these analog sticks are just fantastic. They're heavily tensioned with a satisfying flickback, and they also have a really wide range of motion, especially when compared with the almost identically sized Switch analog sticks. The tops are a kind of hard but slightly rubbery material, which admittedly took some getting used to, but I love the feeling of them now. There's just something really robust and high quality about them. They're definitely among my favorite analog sticks ever, without a doubt. They really are that good. Oh yeah, and of course they click for L3 and R3 as well. I just really love these sticks, they're so nice. The L1 and R1 buttons are very tactile, with a nice cushioned response. By the way, when I say tactile response, I mean that you can feel the moment that the button is actuated, either by a click, a thud, or something else. Basically, it's the feeling you get when the switch is actually activated as you press the button. Anyway, these buttons feel good to press, but I would prefer them to be a little bit thicker as they're quite narrow. Now onto the triggers, which are absolutely great. There's a weightiness to them, meaning they require a degree of force to press. They're fully analog, which makes them excellent for racing games. In fact, the extra weight makes them extremely precise and very suitable for rally games in particular. Just like the analog sticks, they feel robust, responsive, and very high quality. The triggers do have a bit of a creak and scratchiness to the motion, but it never bothers me because they just feel so nice to use and are so responsive. My main criticism is that I wish they were about twice as long as they are, because the natural place for my fingers seems to be about halfway off the trigger. And no matter how I hold the Kishi, I can always feel the back edge of them under my finger, which can be a little distracting. I guess they're this size to keep the Kishi's profile slim and together, but I don't think it would hurt to extend them just a bit to match the natural position of the hands and fingers. In game, the Kishi is just brilliant to use. I just cannot overstate the analog sticks. They are just absolutely amazing. And the triggers just work so nicely for those shooter or racing games. I've played WRC7 significantly better on the Kishi versus the X2. Now, it's not so perfect for 2D platformers or fighting games that lean heavily on the D-pad, because again, it's just really not very good. It works for sure and in a pinch, but there's just not really enough feedback to make it a great experience. I'd say if you want to play 3D retro games or modern games on your phone, the Kishi is an absolutely killer controller, and it's by far the best quality in the market right now. Using the Razer Kishi, I've had an absolute blast streaming Dragon Quest XI and WRC7 from my PC, and playing a few great Android games like Revenant Knight and Minecraft. The all-in-one feeling of the Razer Kishi is a really nice experience, and since my Poco is a spare phone, I just keep it in the Razer Kishi all the time and just pick it up whenever I want it. In all fairness, following on from my X2 review, I should talk about the price. Now, the recommended retail price for this controller is $100, which is absolutely absurd and not worth it even remotely. Nobody should pay $100 for any of these mobile controllers. However, it's incredibly easy to find the Razer Kishi on Amazon Prime for half that price. I literally got mine for $49.99, and at $50 I'd say the Razer Kishi is a really good deal, and it's definitely a better value proposition than the X2 is, in my opinion that is. To wrap this review up, here's what I like about the Kishi. The overall build quality is really good. The full analog triggers are just a necessity at this price, and these ones feel great. And the analog sticks are amazing. They really are just that good. I cannot state it enough, they're brilliant analog sticks. And the overall look and feel of the controller when there's a phone in is really smart, and I really like it. And here's what I don't like so much. The shape is a bit weird and uncomfortable at first and could be improved. The face buttons are fine, but they also could be better. The D-pad is really bad, and it's not suited for 2D games at all. And this is just a small irk, but I wish the triggers were a little bit longer. I think that would make them feel a lot better. Overall, the Kishi is my favourite mobile controller available right now, and the good things about it far outweigh the bad. It's the best clamp-style mobile controller available right now in terms of quality, and I highly recommend it, especially if you can find it for around $50. It's definitely the best option out there, and in my honest opinion, massively superior to the GameSir X2. So that's it. What do you think about the Razer Kishi? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. I have plenty more coming soon, so ring that notification bell as well if you want to see it first. Thank you very much for watching Retro Breeze, and I will see you next time.